We got a quorum present. I'd like to welcome everybody to the City of Kenedy regular City Council meeting scheduled for tonight, October 13th, 2020, 6 p.m. We do have a quorum present. Amanda, can you please call roll?
Councilor Briones?
Present.
Councilor Wynn?
Here.
Councilor Stein?
Here.
Councilor Condo?
Here.
Councilor Meyer?
Here.
All are present.
Okay, moving on to item number 3. Prayer. Leslie, will you please say a prayer for us?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lord, for giving us the opportunity to come before you. We ask that you would be with us and allow us to be able to work through the things that is necessary to run your city. We ask that you would give each of us knowledge, understanding, kindness, meekness, and the ability to hear and understand each other. We thank you for all that you do. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
United States
of the United States of America and to the republic
Which stands
one nation under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Number 5, citizen comment. Amanda, do you have any citizen comments for tonight?
Yes, sir, I do not.
Moving on to item number 6, departmental reports. City Secretary report, go ahead.
Okay. For the City Secretary report, I have for the month of September, the city had 6 new hires for the month. 3 were in the street department and 3 were in the water and sewer department. We still continue to accept payments through the drop box at the end of the ramp and the front door of our office at City Hall. Customers can also call and make payments over the phone. We are hoping to open our doors back up by the beginning of November. One important thing is that late fees and disconnects will finally go back into effect this month. The last day to pay or call to make a payment arrangement with the city will be October 26th, and that's to avoid disconnection. Disconnections begin on 8 a.m. on the 27th.
Amanda, are you going to post that notice? Are you going to post that notice of the late fees on the website?
I was going to post it on our Facebook page. I was just waiting until after tonight's meeting to do so.
Okay, and was it on? I didn't notice if it was on our bill for this month. Did y'all already add that on there?
No, late notices will not. The 15th will be the last day to pay before the late fees. So late notices actually will not go out until the end of this week.
Okay.
For the month of September, the City Municipal Court collected $3,139.97 in cash and checks, $0 in jail credit and community service, $16,806.85 in credit card payments, and $0 in transfers. The total amount received for this month, for the month of September, was $19,943.82. Lastly, early voting for the City of Kenedy began today and will continue until October 30th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Additional early voting hours will be held on Saturday, October 24th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Sunday, October 25th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. There will be extended hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on October 26th and 27th. And so the early voting is just here at City Hall. It's not going to be at the different polling locations. Those polling locations won't be open until actual election day. And that completes my report. I do have the fire department report as well. The Kenedy Volunteer Fire Department responded to 9 calls for the month of September. 1 was a 2-car vehicle accident, 3 grass fires, 1 vehicle fire, 1 structure fire, 1 smell of smoke at a business, 1 fire with wood pallets, and 1 electrical fire. Due to COVID-19, the department has been unable to have its regular monthly meetings with its members. We did have 2 members leave the department. Samantha Gray moved out of state, and Timothy Hawkins, our department chaplain, left to pursue his military career. There were no new members signed up for the month of September. And if nobody has any questions, I'll move to code compliance.
Amanda.
Okay, oh, yes, ma'am.
So you said how many new hires did we have?
6.
And how many did we have that left the city?
How many, what, I'm sorry?
How many left the city?
I believe we had 2 that left the city. And then for the month of September, 2 left the city, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So those 6 were just filling spots that we had vacancies in?
Yes, ma'am.
Just checking.
Not a problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Council. The code compliance report for September 2020. We've had a total of 10 permits, 12 inspections, 20 roll-offs, sent out 18 violation letters, and reran bids for 202 Victoria and 704 South 8 due to lack of bids. And that is all.
Okay. Jerry?
Good afternoon, City Council. This is Jerry Higgins. I will start with the water. We had a total water produced of 56 million gallons. We had a total water loss of 7.197 million, which equals out to 12.85%. We had 94 rereads. We had 19 checked for leaks. Leaks repaired was 16. And in our previous meeting, council meeting, we had got approved to update our meters. I'll just give you a real small update on that. We have still waiting on the bulk of our stuff to come in. And so at this point, we've only updated a total of 68 so far. And I'll continue to give you updates monthly of our progress on that. Moving on to the streets, we had a total of 98 service orders for the streets that we completed. We put out 67 cubic yards of asphalt and 171 yards of base. I'll move on to the wastewater now. We had no violations for the month of September. And we had started building our fence around the lift station out at the baseball complex, and that has been completed. So our fence around our lift station is completed. Our daily flow average was 1.558 MGD per day. Our monthly flow was 46.744 million gallons. We had a total of 8.2 inches of rain for the month of September. We had no SSOs reported to TCEQ for the month. We had one repair of a sewer line that we had some issues with. We jetted our mains a total of 10 times. Those are just hot spots that we do on a weekly basis. For the water, streets, and the wastewater, and some for the park, we had a total service orders completed for the month of 721. So we stayed pretty busy. And we had a total of 12 call-outs during the month. And that's all I have for now.
Jerry, I had one question. You said you had a little over 7 million gallons of loss. Did we have a big leak this month?
Well, I don't know, and I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but water loss is water you cannot account for. I can account for the water we pump, the water that we estimate for each leak, and the flushing, and the loss at the RO system where the brine, goes out. The 7 million I cannot account for. I have no idea where it went. That is actually the water loss.
Okay.
And so when I plug my numbers in, I don't know if y'all have the full packet of my packet or not, but there's a sheet in there that says water loss report based on billing cycle August to September, because that goes from meter reading to meter reading. And it has a breakdown of how I list things. And also there's a list that Hector does an excellent breakdown of it too. Mine is more simplified than Hector's to make it easier for people to understand. And it breaks down, the number of water leaks, the flushing, water we have in storage, being it's counted once it's in storage and in between the customer meters. And then all of those numbers are factored in and charged against the water that is metered and billed for. And technically, in short term, that's how the water loss is done. And it does vary from time to time and month to month, because we go out to a water leak, we have calculations that we use, but it is just an educated guess, because none of that water is metered. So sometimes, your water loss looks good one month and sometimes it looks bad another month, but anytime you're close to 10% on water loss for an older water system, especially like the city of Kenedy, that's usually a pretty good and pretty decent number. I know we've had some real small water loss numbers in the past since I've been here. This one seems a little high, but it's hovering right there around that 10%, so that's still fairly decent. And again, those change on a monthly basis.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Yes, you're welcome. Is there anything else that anybody would like to talk about or ask questions about?
I have a question, Jerry. This is Cindy.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way to get that report that you do? A simplified version, because I've seen the other ones and they're kind of detailed. Is there a way to get that report?
Yes, there is. I don't know. I sent all of this so I don't know how much y'all get, but it may be in there in your packet. I don't know, but if not, I can get it to you through City Hall or however you would like it.
That's fine. Maybe just give it to Amanda, and because I don't think it's in the packet.
It may be hard to find. There's a lot of pages in there.
Yeah, I'm looking through it, but I haven't seen any. I haven't seen it. We don't get those detailed reports.
No,
right,
it's not. If you want it, I can send it.
That's fine. Yeah, just to take a look at it.
Can you send it, Amanda?
Now let me move on to Chief. Okay, Chief.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good deal.
Chief.
All right, so let me start with animal control for September. We had 37 calls for service, picked up 14 dogs and 18 cats. We also picked up 12 dead animals. We sent 11 dogs over to the rescue group. We issued 2 citations and 4 warnings. We also had 1 snake and 2 possums we picked up. For the police department, in September we've started having outside training again. So we ended up having 144 hours of outside training where officers go to classes. We also had an in-service training this month. We needed to cover 2 items for our recognition program. We needed to cover, which were implicit bias and duty to intervene. These are both 2 new topics that we had to cover. So we trained our entire department in those 2 areas. We also had MHMR come over and give a presentation on their services, as well as Laurel Ridge and San Antonio, on how to take people to their facility. One of our detectives, Detective Pettifees, completed the last training he needed and now has obtained his intermittent certificate, which is his first step in moving up. We do have a couple other officers also close to getting their intermediate certificates. This is an area that I've been trying to focus on since I got here, is getting our officers trained and getting them their next level of certificates. We're on our last standard that we need to finish for our recognition program. We're doing a complete inventory of the evidence room. Taking a little longer than we anticipated, but we should be done any day now. That was literally the last thing we need to do. We'll then have an on-site visit where they'll come and inspect us and go through everything again. Once that is done, we will become a recognized agency. So we're very excited about that. Quick update on our crime stats. I know y'all ask me about that sometimes. Calls for service are higher simply because the weather is warmer, but we also have our traffic officers out there doing a lot more, and our night shift officers have been a lot more active on making stops and arrests. Our arrests are up for the last 2 months. DWI arrest went up last month. At the same time, our burglaries are down, so that's very good. We normally run about 15 burglaries and thefts combined. We run about 15 a month. Last month we had 8 and 5 in August, so those numbers are down, which was really good. Our arrests are up and burglaries are down, so that's good. And in the interest of being brief, I will end it with that, unless there's any questions.
Yeah.
Anybody like to for the chief?
What was that?
Does anybody have any questions for the chief before we move on? Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Chief. Appreciate it. Moving on to item number 7, City Manager Report. Mr. Lynn.
Thank you, Counselor. Good evening, Council. We'll start off with, been getting a lot of phone calls regarding trick-or-treating, and reached out to the city attorney to kind of see how maybe we should proceed as a municipality, bring it to you guys. It appears that what's going on in the state is a lot of municipalities are deferring to the counties. And so on the advice of the attorney, that's what I've elected to do, is just let this go to the county. If the county decides to cancel trick-or-treating, then trick-or-treating will be canceled. If they decide to keep it open, then it'll stay open. What we're going to do as a municipality is I have the CDC guidelines for trick-or-treating this year. We're going to post those up on our Facebook page and our website. so people can look at those, and hopefully they'll follow the safe guidelines from the CDC in doing their trick-or-treating this year, and our kids will be safe and the parents will be safe as well. So I just wanted to address that issue real quick. Hines alluded to us opening our doors. As you all know on the agenda, we're going to discuss that a little later. Provided that we move forward with that, we are looking at opening the doors at City Hall for the residents on Monday, November the 9th. We will have 6-foot stickers on the floor for social distancing. We will also have one of those little barricades up that you see at the restaurants, turnstile type thing, for people to stay in line, to keep things orderly. Hand sanitizer stations, masks will be mandatory still to be worn. So we'll move forward with that, depending upon council's guideline later on. But November the 9th is the date that I'm looking at it, allowing the people to come back into City Hall to transact business at the windows. And we're still working on our training station, where in the break room where we can use to have our team come up on the clock and do their online training. Jose, our worker here, he does a great job at putting things together for us. He's done a wonderful job of reconstructing some walls for us to make space. We were able to do this. I think this will be a huge benefit to the team to have an on-site training section, so that when they need to do certifications and that, they're not left to do it on their own time. They can do it here at City Hall. So far to date, we've had one response to the civil engineering advertisement. The person is fairly qualified for the job. We're letting the advertisement run a little while longer to get a couple more responses before we move forward with the interviewing process. And as I stated before, when we decided to do this, we'll conduct the interviews, the first interviews, we'll conduct the second round interviews, and then when we get it down to the final couple of candidates, we'll bring them before council, and we'll let council at that point get active into inquiring about the engineer. This is a very key position for the city that we're going to need, and I believe it'd be best in the final decision if the council and the city manager all get together on that particular one to bring that person on. We do have an accountant now, full-time, Miss Murphy. Most of you are familiar with her. She has been off and on with the city of Kenedy for quite some time. She came in and got our books straightened out. She's the individual that Mr. Byer ranted and raved about in his presentation. And we talked with her, and we were able to move a few things around and able to bring her on full-time, which is going to be nothing but a benefit to the city. So we want to welcome her into a full-time capacity with the city versus her contractor's capacity that she was originally in. We're doing the final interview this week for the building inspector, code enforcement officer. The individual that's being considered is extremely well qualified for the position, has credentials that we really couldn't have hoped for if we wrote it out. So I'll let council know through an email after that interview whether we extended an offer or not, and if we did, what their first day will be. Other than that, we've got a few projects going on in town. The sports complex is still moving forward. Building A, which is the concession stand, it's about 70% complete, and we're working on that. We are working on getting the elevator for that, as we discussed, the council approved. So we will be getting that ordered and then put in and installed. We're working on getting Building C, which is the bathrooms. We're going to rebid that out by the end of October so that can be done so we can get the people out there building that bathroom, hopefully before mid-November. In addition to that, we've done all the pouring of the concrete on the blockouts and the ribbons out at the park. All the granite has been laid down in the areas where we're putting granite. And if you haven't been out to the park to take a look at it,
you should wander out there. It is very aesthetically pleasing. It really pops with the concrete complementing the granite complementing the concrete. It looks really nice out there. The street department guys and Jerry, his crew, did a great job. So I want to throw kudos out for them for doing that. We're working on Graham Road, tying it up from Escondido. For those that don't recall Jerry's reports, we did about 1,100 linear foot of replacing the sewer line, I believe it was. And now we're going to be going back and asphalting that and covering that over so that the road doesn't look like it's under construction anymore. So the crews have been out working on that today. We're looking at about a 2-week time frame, weather permitting, for them to get that taken care of. So we are still waiting on the results for the grants that we do have out. We've got the FAST grant and the DRP grant, which are in the consideration stages. They're looking at a November to January estimated award date on those. We also have the 2 GLO grants that's going to be going out for consideration at the end of the month. I have a few things to tie up that the grant administrator asked me to do before October 25th on the 1 GLO grant. So I'll be working on getting that done, getting that to the grant administrator so they can write us a compelling grant, and hopefully we can acquire those as well. So in short, that's pretty much what we've got going on right now. There'll be more coming up soon. So any questions on that part of the report? Okay, if not, moving on to our financial presentation. So the presentation of the financials, this is our year-end financial report. This is just an overview of where we are. Of course, that's why we do an audit every year, to get an exact everything, how we finished up. As you can see from looking at the report, we should be at 100% on all of our totals. We are not. The general fund on revenues is at 87.13%, so it underperformed for the whole year. The water and sewer revenues at 85.36% underperformed the budget, and so the total revenues underperformed the budget by about 14%. The expenditures, the general fund was at 94.98, so it outperformed the budget for the year. Water and sewer, there towards the end, we had some projects that we were working on. We did spend a little extra money, so we underperformed the budget there. And the net effect was an underperforming on expenditures for the year. Our end of the year liquidity, if we look at that, our general fund, we ended with 7.186 in our tax pool account. Our hotel motel tax pool account ended at 2.429. Water and sewer tax pool account ended at 1.852, and our paving fund tax pool account ended at 2.448. So we had about 13.917 million in our tax pool accounts as of the end of our fiscal year. We had 3.1 million in the bank about that time. So we had a total liquidity ending our fiscal year of somewhere in the neighborhood of $17 million, which again is more than a year's worth of expenditures in liquid assets. It's important to understand that a liquid asset is something that we can move into cash within 30 days. So that's important because if we were ever in a crunch, we could get to the money quickly. So that's where we stand financially. All in all, we're pretty fiscally solvent, and we have a really good set of financials ending the year. So, and are there any questions anybody would like to ask about the financials? All right, very good then. I'll turn the floor back over to Councilor Briones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Moving on to item number 8, consent agenda. A, city council minutes B, approve the financials.
Make a motion to consider item 8 on the agenda.
Got a motion by Leslie.
I'll second.
I'll go ahead. Okay, second by Cindy.
Yes.
Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Connor?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Item B, approve financials.
Make a motion
Everybody
to
have
approve the financial.
Motion by Leslie.
I'll second.
I'll go ahead. Second by Justin. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Connor?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Item number 9, consideration and possible action in regard to authorizing the city manager to execute the production sharing agreement with a Black Jack Levi FA 5H, 6H, and 7H with Marathon Oil EF LLC. Motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion. We discuss the item number 9.
I'll second that.
Second by Leslie. Discussion. Presentation, Mr. Lynn?
Thank you, Council. I appreciate it. If you all recall, about 2 months ago, our lease with the Marathon was up for review, and we went out and we acquired Mr. Santoyo as expert counsel for mineral rights and that, and he has been reviewing this and working with Marathon to protect the city's interest. The document you have in front of you is a final document ready for execution. I've spoken with Mr. Santoyo and asked him to be on this call in case you all had any questions. He has assured me that this is in the city's best interest, and he has done a very good job, in my opinion, getting us there. So I'm going to ask Ms. Hines to unmute Mr. Santoyo, and Council, I'm going to turn the floor over to you to ask Mr. Santoyo any questions you may have regarding this document.
He is unmuted.
Good evening, Council. I'm Paul Santoyo. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have in this regard.
I just had one question. You feel good about the way it's all set up and feel that it's in the best interest of the city?
I do. You know, the city of Kenedy executed 2 different oil and gas leases, one back in 2011, one back in 2014. And those are very good leases that protect the city's interests. The production sharing agreements, which we negotiated with Marathon, don't change the protections that you guys have in those existing leases. They just kind of clearly set forth the way that production will be distributed amongst these wells, which are going to be drilled across 2 different units. There's a little more information maybe than you wanted to know, but yes, I believe the short answer is yes. I believe that they protect the city's interests.
Thank you very much.
Anybody have any more questions?
No, I don't. I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 9 and have the city manager execute the production sharing agreements for Blackjack Levi SA 56878 Marathon Oil.
You got a motion by Justin?
I'll second that.
Second by Leslie. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Sines?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor?
Motion passed. Item number 10, consideration and possible action in regard to authorizing the city manager to execute the CDBG grant award for $300,000 for sewer line upgrades. What's for discussion?
Item 10 on the agenda.
Motion by Leslie. And by Justin, discussion. Presentation, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you, Counselor. Well, this one kind of snuck up on us. This was a grant, CDBG grant that the city of Kenedy went after back in 2018 and originally did not score well enough to be considered for the grant. However it happened, whether somebody refused the grant or whether they had extra money, the city of Kenedy is now the benefactor of that. And we have now been awarded a $300,000 grant with a $43,000 match on our behalf. This grant is for sewer line upgrades along Waco Street, going to go from Daly to Helena, and then from Live Oak Street, on Live Oak Street, from Runge to approximately 125-foot southwest of Wallace. This is a wonderful opportunity for the city of Kenedy. It gets us in the grant game at a very crucial time when we have lots of grants pending. Accepting this grant establishes a need for grant money, and it also will simultaneously help improve the sewer in those areas as well. So all we need to do, Councilor Briones and I met with the TDA in the pre-award conference, and we just need the city council to officially authorize the acceptance of this award so that we can sign the documents when they become available and proceed.
I'm going to make a motion that we do take action to authorize the city manager to execute the CDBG grant award for $300,000 for sewer line upgrades.
Motion by Leslie. Second by Justin. Any other discussion? There's no other discussion. Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Sines?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer? All in favor?
Motion passed. Moving on to item number 11, consideration and possible action in regard to resolution 20-29, the resolution of the city of Kenedy, Texas, declaring unclaimed and surplus property in conformance with city ordinance chapter 2, administration, article 6, finance. Motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion. We discuss agenda item number 11.
And I'll second that.
Justin. Second by Leslie. Discussion. Mr. Lynn, presentation.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, so down at the wastewater treatment plant, we have approximately 300 linear foot of 6-foot high chain link fence just sitting there, being a trellis for grass to grow on. And we have a business here in town that's a 501c3 organization, the Karnes County Christian Thrift Center, which they've reopened their doors, and they are benefiting the residents of Kenedy, Karnes City, and the other municipalities within Karnes County. This fencing, as you see, items 11 and 12 kind of go hand in hand. So what we would like to do is just go ahead by resolution tonight and take this fencing and declare it a surplus, since it's not really doing anything, and we're not using it in the city. And it's old fencing that was torn down from the complex whenever they began the construction of the sports complex. So that would be what we're going to do on item 11, is we're looking to go ahead and declare the surplus first.
I'll make a motion that we take action in regards to Resolution 20-29, a resolution of the City of Kenedy, Texas, declaring unclaimed and surplus property in conformance with the City Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 6, Finance.
I'll second that.
Motion. Second again?
I'll second that.
Second
Cindy?
by Cindy? Sorry about that, Cindy. You broke up on me, just making sure. Second by Cindy. Any other discussion? If there's no discussion, Amanda, please call the roll.
Counselor Brandon?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Fines?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor?
Motion passed. Moving on to item number 12. Consideration on possible action in regards to setting 300 feet of chain link fence to the Karnes County Christian Thrift Center. Motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion that we discuss item number 12 on the agenda.
Motion by Cindy.
And I'll second that.
Second by Leslie. Discussion. Mr. Lynn?
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor, okay, now that we've declared surplus, we can do several things with it. We can donate it or we can sell it. Now, it is at the advice of the city attorney that we sell this chain link fence to the Karnes County Christian Thrift Center. The wonderful thing is the city council can set whatever price they want for it. We can sell it for $50 or we can sell it for $1. But in either case, the city attorney believes it's in the best interest of the city to at least get something from it. And if any of the councilors are concerned about selling it because they are a 501c3 and they are providing such a benefit to the community, and if the council really just wanted to donate it, I will tell the council in all transparency, I have a couple of people whom I know personally that have reached out to me knowing this was going to be on the agenda, and they have told me if council elects to sell it, they will cover the cost of it for the thrift center. So it'll be still zero cost to the thrift center regardless. So I just, council, I just need you to decide how you wish to proceed with this chain link fence.
Where are they going to put the fence up at?
It's going to go in the back, which is an exposed area by the alleyway. That way, when people drop off donations in that, they can't be stolen or vandalized, as well as some of the items that they has been dropped off in the past the thrift center does not handle, such as beds and things of that nature. So this will also keep people from making errant donations as well, and just making be a junk pile.
Okay.
If we do make a donation, or if we do sell it to them for let's say $1, is the city going to put it up, or is that going to be at the cost of the thrift center?
The thrift center, I believe, already has the labor to be volunteered to put it up. We're just helping them with the material.
And as of this point, the city has no other use for the fencing, so it would just be sitting there anyways?
Yes, sir. As of right now, tonight, I have no use for it.
Then I'll make a motion that we approve to sell the 300 feet of chain link fence to the Karnes County Christian Thrift Center for $1.
And I will say, I'll second that.
Cindy.
Thank you, Brenda.
You got a lot of seconds.
Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Fine?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor?
Motion passed. Item 13. Consideration and possible action in regard to ordinance 20-12, an ordinance of the City of Kenedy, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 3, Planning and Zoning Commission, Section 2-141, created, established, members, and Section 2-142, officers, powers, providing a repeating clause, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion to consider item 13 on the agenda.
Motion by Leslie.
Second.
Second by Cindy. Discussion?
That was
Mr.
second by
Lynn?
Brenda.
Oh, sorry, Brenda. Second by Brenda. Mr. Lynn, discussion.
Thank you, Counselor. We addressed this one other time, and then we tabled it. And so now it's back on the agenda. It's in line with what the City Council has expressed to make everything uniform with the boards and commissions throughout the city. Currently, the P&Z has 3 people that can meet on their board, so they're going to need to have some additions to that board here real soon. So when we're looking at this, modifying it, we're keeping with the same language we did with the Parks and Rec. We're staying with 5 to 7 members. They can serve 2-year terms. They can serve 2 consecutive 2-year terms. We did change the language in this particular ordinance to reflect the same language that we put into the Parks and Recs section, to whereby the members will serve no more than 2 consecutive 2-year terms, and then they have to rotate off for 1 year, but they can serve an unlimited number of 2-year terms as long as after every 4 years they rotate off for a year, which was language you all asked to be in there. So we took care of putting that language in this one as well. And so that is what this is about tonight. This is about uniformity in our codes and bringing all of our codes together so that we can move forward as a municipality and have some consistency. Questions? No questions. Councilor Briones, I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. For the planning and zoning,
I'm going to make a motion.
Okay. Okay, sorry, but
Go ahead.
Sorry, Leslie. One question.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Brandon.
Lynn, on the planning and zoning, how many people are currently on that board right now?
Well, they had a membership of 5, but only 3 are really there that show up. So we're going to, we've got one individual who has expressed an interest in wanting to be on there. That would give them 4. We would need between 1 and 3 more people to be on that board.
Gotcha. Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you, Mr. Lynn. All right, Leslie. Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion that we take action in regards to Ordinance 20-12, an ordinance of the City of Kenedy, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 3, Planning and Zoning Commission, Section 2-141, created, established, members, and Section 2-142, officers, powers, providing a repealing clause, providing for serviceability, and providing an effective date.
Got a motion by Leslie. I'll go ahead and second that. Any other discussion? There's no other discussion. Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Sines?
Yes.
Councilor Cano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Item number 15, consideration and possible action in regard to activating Section 4 and Section 5 of the City of Kenedy COVID-19 reopening policy and guidelines. Oh, I'm sorry. Item 14, yes, I'm sorry about that. Consideration and possible action in regard to an engagement letter from Den Navarro Rocha, Bernal, and Zek, PC, for the Kenedy 4B Corporation. Motion discussion?
I'll
make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion. We consider agenda item number 14.
Motion by
I'll
Justin.
second that.
Second by Leslie. Discussion. Mr. Lynn, presentation.
Thank you. Okay, so if you all remember back when we were talking with the 4B, Mr. Kiesling had made the statement that they wanted D and RBZ to be their attorneys. This is really something that is uncommon in a municipality for your 4B to have a separate attorney than your city. Usually whenever you hire a city attorney, they provide your prosecution services, and they also advise the 4B if you have one. So this engagement letter is an engagement letter from DNRBZ to the 4B. It is dated February of 2017 as far as the signature goes, whereby they are agreeing to represent the 4B. However, the City Council is completely in charge. You all can elect to permit the 4B to continue using DNRBZ, or you can elect to have the 4B use the Bajorquez's law firm, which is the city designated attorney. So I place this in your lap, guys, to decide which way you wish to go with it.
Is anybody from 4B online?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there a particular reason that they wanted to use a different attorney?
I have gathered no direct indication from them, Councilor Wynn, other than they probably felt like using a different attorney was going to warrant them success in what they were trying to accomplish. Definitely, this is something that does it does happen, but it's not the norm. So, my recommendation, of course, would always be we hired Bajorquez to represent the city. The 4B is part of the city. I would always recommend that we have Bajorquez represent the 4B as well. But it is something that the city council can elect to go away from. So,
I really would like to hear from 4B to see why they rather have them than the one we have for the city before we make a decision, just so I can get their input.
Well, Councilor Kano, I appreciate that, but the reason why they have them for their attorney is because at the same time, the city of Kenedy used them as their attorney. So that is why the 4B had them as their attorney.
They hadn't reached out to you that they haven't reached out to you that they want to switch over to who we have now?
Well, Mr. Kiesling, in the beginning when we were having all those discussions, if you recall all those meetings with the 4B, Mr. Kiesling had wanted to keep DNVZR as their attorney. He did ask that. However, I feel that continuity with legal guidance is highly important in a municipality. And we as a municipality went away from DNVZR for a reason. And I believe that, there's a reason there why we did that.
At the end of the day, 4B is still part of the city.
I understand that, and I agree with that. I was just wondering why they kept them. I understand that. Like I said, I was just wondering why they had chose to keep them. I just felt like we needed to know that.
I mean, we've always had just one. In the past, we've always had just one attorney with the whole city. That I know what you're saying, Brenda, but I'm just saying that this is strange why they would want to keep getting Navarro and not just come over as a whole with the city.
That's right. It's strange. That's why I want to know why they want to. That's why I was asking if anybody knew why they wanted to, if there was anybody online to give us some input why they felt like they needed to keep them. That's why I asked. Justin, do you have any input on this?
Honestly, it doesn't bother me either way. But the only thing that I start worrying about is if we have two different legal counsels representing the city of Kenedy, then we're going to be paying double the cost. Whereas if we just had one firm, you're not going to be not necessarily mediating, but you're not going to be discussing things back and forth. And each entity, well, it's the same entity, but each group getting charged for it. That's one concern that I have. But I don't know if 4B just feels more comfortable keeping Dayton and Navarro because of, the sports complex and getting it completed. Like if that's the reasoning why they're wanting to keep it, or if they just have a good working relationship. It wouldn't bother me either way. I would like to see us all use the same law firm, but I kind of understand where you're coming from, but they might have a reason.
Right. And let me ask you this: can they change at any time? Let's say that they do just want to use them until the sports complex is complete, and then can they later switch to who we have, or is this going to be in contract that they have to do it the whole year or whole 2 years or whatever? How would we go about that, Mr. Lynn?
Well, the way we would go about that, Councilor Kano, would be if the council elects to let them to continue using DNVZR, then I'm going to presume that Mr. Santee is going to draft up a brand new, more current PSA that he's probably going to put a time frame on. Of course, you can always go away from a PSA. They're not guaranteed contracts where there's any kind of penalty for, breaking it.
Right.
So, that's something to consider there. I guess, if we look at things as a group and what we're trying to do, beginning with the ordinances and going forward from there, we're looking to bring continuity and uniformity to the way our government operates here in Kenedy. And when you have multiple attorneys involved representing different parts or aspects of a municipality, you get multiple opinions. We may run into something where our attorney would advise one way, the DMVVR may advise before it be another way. And I'm not trying to take something away from somebody. I'm just looking for continuity and uniformity here. I just think that if we have one attorney dealing with everything, we get the best legal representation for the municipality that we can get. I also believe that we get the most uniform defense we can get. See, the reason we have attorneys do things isn't because we want an attorney. The reason we have an attorney do things is so they review things. And when they review it, when they review things, they're not reviewing things for, to point out flaws. What they're actually doing is they're saying to themselves, as they review the stuff from the city, they're saying, how can I defend this if? They're looking at worst case scenarios. And so if you have lack of continuity of two different attorneys, it becomes jumbled. And at some point in time, you're paying double the fee because the two attorneys have to get their heads together. So I know you asked a simple question. I know I went around the mountain 5 times. But that's just the way I see this. With everything you guys have done so far and starting to unify things, I think this is another step that we need to look at as well. Very hard.
I agree. I think they should come over. Like Justin said, I think it's a good idea for them to come on over to the other attorney. But I really just kind of want to know why they hesitated or why they didn't do it right away. Like just said, maybe they're more comfortable. I don't know, but I really just would like to know what their thought was on it. Or if they're like, oh, yeah, let's go ahead and switch, great, then let's do it. But if they have a concern or they just say, hey, we just want to finish out the sports complex and then we'll switch, great, and that's great too. I just kind of feel like I needed that last piece to be able to be comfortable about making this decision. Just kind of wanted to know what they felt. Now, I know it's really our decision. We don't have to ask them anything. I get that. But to be transparent with everybody and to be fair to everybody across the board, I really feel we have to ask and just ask the question, hey, give us some input. Why do you want to keep them? And we can still make the decision for them to still have to come over or not. I just feel like I just need that last piece.
Well, and I agree with what everybody's saying. So since they're not here on the phone tonight, maybe we should table this till next month, and hopefully we'll be in person next month, and we can reach out and make sure somebody shows up so that we can hear from them and we can make that decision and move forward.
That sounds like a great plan to me.
I'm fine with that.
And I'm going to make a motion that we table item 14.
And I'll second that.
Got a motion by Leslie, second by Brenda. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Fines?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Yes, Amanda.
All in favor.
Yeah. All right, motion passed. Item number 15, consideration and possible action in regard to activating Section 4 and Section 5 of the City of Kennedy's COVID-19 reopening policy and guidelines. Motion to discuss?
A motion to discuss item 15 on the agenda.
Motion
And
by
I'll
Leslie,
second that for you.
second by Brenda. Mr. Lynn, presentation.
Thank you, Counselor. Well, Council, a while back, you all made the very tough decision, and I commend you on it, to move away from meeting face-to-face and to conduct these meetings in our business via telephonic meetings. It certainly has had its challenges throughout the last several months, and we've certainly been met with all sorts of issues, from power outages to overrunning each other when we're talking and all the negative things, and we certainly had some good meetings as well. I certainly appreciate that. We set forth the guidelines to follow the CDC's recommendations of a downward trajectory over a 14-day rolling average of 14-day rolling averages below 10%, and we have well exceeded that. The last number I looked at was 5.86, and so the trajectory has gone in the proper direction that we've needed it to go to reactivate meeting in face-to-face and to approve meetings in face-to-face. So with Section 4 and Section 5 of the reopen policy, the key thing about Section 4 and Section 5 is that it'll be effective with our next regular council meeting. So that means by adopting this, nobody in the city of Kenedy can have a face-to-face meeting until after November the 10th, when the city council meets face-to-face. And then once the city council meets face-to-face on November the 10th, the boards, the fire department, and then they can all begin having their meetings with the caveat that they, number one, wear masks at the meetings, and number two, that they are socially distanced 6 feet apart, whether they're indoors or outdoors. We are also going to still be under the 10-person rule as well with those. So there's still going to be some caveats to coming back in person. But I believe, based upon the guidelines that the council accepted and set forth, we've met those guidelines. I believe it's time for us to hang up our telephones and come back and see each other face-to-face again. So that's where we are with this. And, Council, I yield the floor back to you for your questions or comments.
The next, Mr. Lynn, this is Councilor Briones. The next meeting we come back face-to-face, will that be in the auditorium?
Yes, sir. We will move to the auditorium during this time so we can properly social distance the council and the staff, as well as those who would be coming to participate. It would be of importance to note, Council, that we will be taking temperatures before every meeting, and we will be turning people away from an open meeting if they're running a temperature. So we're not going to let people in if they're they could risk the health of everybody else. The seating will be limited, even in the auditorium, because it will be spaced out 6 feet apart. But yes, sir, we will be moving to the auditorium so we can come back.
On another note, on same topic, Amanda, make sure that with you guys get ready to use the auditorium that we have the table coverings for the tables for the council, just so you have that in the back of your mind to remember to grab those if you haven't already.
Yes, ma'am.
there's no other, I'm going to make a motion that we take action in regards to activating Section 4 and 5 of the City of Kennedy's COVID-19 reopening policy and guidelines.
And I'll second that motion.
Second by Brenda. Any other discussion? No other discussion. Amanda, please call roll.
Dennis?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Conroe?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Item number 16, consideration and possible action in regard to opening a checking account at Texas Champion Bank and investment account at Texpool for the Kenedy Regional Airport. Motion and discussion?
Discuss item 16 on the agenda.
Motion by Leslie.
I'll second that.
Second by Brenda. Discussion? Mr. Lynn?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Council. So in my first 6 months with the city, one of the things I was charged with doing was writing a budget for the city. As I was beginning to go through the budget, I noticed that our airport had some monies, if you will, that were due them. The city council had approved an organization to come in and take the oil leases, the royalties, and divide it up between the city and the airport based upon where the wells were and that. We did that. And they came up with this formula and this number, and they said that this amount of money was due to the airport. And what we've done is we went through and we deducted some numbers of stuff we had already spent on behalf of the airport. It is a federal law and state law that airport money is what is considered dedicated funds. It can only be used for the airport. It cannot be used for the municipality or municipality expenses. The sheet you have in front of you is dated back in July, so there's been more expenditures coming out of that. And we briefly touched on this during the budget season, what we need to do. The goal here is we are separating the airport out into its own fund, much like our water and sewer department is. And the goal is to have our airport become a 100% self-supporting entity of the city that generates revenue. In order to do that, we've got to have a checking account for them, and we've got to get them positioned to do so. So what the plan is to open a checking account for them and to fund it with their budget amount, and then to take the rest of the money and open a tax pool account for them to move that money into there. The city will control the bank accounts. City councilors will, or anyone who is on the accounts to sign, will be the ones signing the checks for the airport. So you guys will see every penny that's going through that airport by watching the checks that you're signing for them. Now, when it comes to the amount that to pay the airport, that is kind of where I'm kind of going to deviate from the paper you have. The paper shows about $3 million that would be owed to the airport. We have a taxiway lighting project that's already currently being paid for, and the city's been expending funds on that. So what I'm going to ask the council to do tonight is this. Rather than move $3 million of our money that we would take from our tax pool account and give to the airport, I am going to ask the city council to give to the airport funds $1.5 million, half of that. We would move, like I say, roughly about $200,000 into a checking account for them to cover their annual expenses for the budget, and then we would move the rest of it into a tax pool account, like our other tax pool accounts that we have for interest bearing. Again, the city controls this money, so we will be monitoring that, doing the bookkeeping for all that, and taking care of it. So we have access to it at any time. Now, going forward, the airport currently will fund itself through its royalties. The royalties it gets will go into its checking account to pay its expenses until such a time as the airport is solvent enough that it is generating revenue from other sources, that the royalty money can then be put into the investment account directly. So that's kind of the short and long-term plans for how to handle all of this. So I'll yield the floor for any questions anybody has.
I understand what you're saying. Now, the work that's been done out there, is that number been subtracted from anything anywhere, or is that the reason for the 1.5 instead of the 3?
That's the reason for the 1.5, Counselor. The taxiway project has an estimated contract value of over $300,000, and the document that you have is not 100% updated, so I don't feel comfortable asking my council to move $3 million, but I do feel comfortable asking for 1.5 to be moved on behalf of the airport. If at a later date we discover after we catch everything up, there's more to be moved, we can always come back and talk about it.
Can you get us an updated breakdown of the money so far for them? Since this one's a little bit outdated.
Well, I would do that. I mean, I can't do it right now. I don't have access to. I don't have access to that. But that was something that I was going to do for you guys tonight. But I just didn't get around to it. I'm not going to hide that fact. The number is not really that substantial. If you think about take 325,000 off of 3 million, and you're down around 2.6. So we're saying let's move 1.5, say tomorrow, open the account, and then we can come back and wash everything out and see what is left to move, and then we can come back and do a second move. Because any money that we move after we would do it tonight, Councilor Kano, is going to go straight to their tax pool account anyway. So that's just an internal transfer on behalf of the city. But the important thing is we need to get the accounts set up and funded. So once we do that, we can always make it right with them what we owe them, after the fact.
Right, but just when we meet again to discuss it, just make sure we have an updated one so we can see it all in front of us.
Oh, most definitely, Councilor Kano. Yeah, we will have. I will break down showing the 1.5 that we moved and what was left, and yeah, definitely, we'll know exactly to the penny what else we owe them. But this is the right thing to do on behalf of the airport. So.
So in our motion, do we need to say the 1.5?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you need to also authorize somebody to do it, whether it be myself or Ms. Hines.
Okay. And I'm going to make a motion that we take action in regard to opening the checking account at Texas Champion Bank and investment account at Tex Pool for Kenedy Regional Airport, and authorize either the city secretary or the city manager to take care of that in the amount of $1.5 million moved into that account.
Motion by Leslie.
I'll second Leslie.
Second by Justin. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Brianna?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Fine?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor?
Motion passed. We will now convene in closed session. The City Council will meet in closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code under Section 551.071, consultation with the attorney, and section 551.072, deliberations about real property. Pending or contemplated litigation and matters in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly requires discussion in closed session. Item A, consideration and possible action to witness cause number 20-03-00046-CVK, Cindy Sign versus City of Kenedy, Texas, litigation matter. Item B, consideration and possible action in regard to the purchase of real property. I have a motion to go to closed session.
I'll make a motion to go to closed session.
Motion by Leslie. I'll second that.
I'll go. Okay, and then Brandon, let's just make sure everybody knows to follow the Facebook page. So when we go back into open session.
Yes, exactly, Justin. Amanda, can you make sure that you let everybody know when we come out of closed session and that we're going to closed session at the moment?
Yes, as soon as we're about to get back into open session, I'll post it on Facebook.
Okay.
So what item are we going to do first, A or B, so we'll know when Cindy can come on? Are you going to text her the number after we're finished with A?
Yes.
You'll just text me?
Yeah, after item A has been discussed, then I will send you the number so you Cindy.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're on closed session.
Thank you.
And the number.
And the number. All right. The council will now convene in open session. Time is now 9:16 p.m. The city will meet in open session to talk about pending or complicated litigation and matters in which the duty of the attorney to the government body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly requires discussion. Item A, consideration and possible action to cause number 20-03-00046-CVK, Cindy Signs versus City of Kenedy, litigation matter. Motion.
I'll make a motion. Council move to continue in the deliberation and resolution of the city's role in the case number 20-02-00046-CVK, Cindy Signs versus the City of Kenedy, Texas.
You got a motion by Leslie?
Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead and second that. Any discussions? No other discussion. Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn? Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passes. On to item B, consideration and possible action in regard to the purchase of real property. Do you have a motion?
Make a motion. The city moves to authorize the city manager to move forward in the negotiation of possible purchase of 3 real properties.
I got a motion by Leslie.
I'll second that.
Second by Cindy. Any more discussion? No other discussion. Amanda, please call
real
roll.
quick. Hold on,
Go ahead.
real quick. Are we going to say an amount or just say the 3 real properties?
3 real properties, ma'am.
3 real properties.
Well, that's what we were given.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wind?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Due to this, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to abstain my vote.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 19, adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
That'll work. Motion by Leslie. Everybody, a great meeting. I'd like to thank y'all very much for everything that we've worked on so hard and continue working on. Y'all did a great and fantastic job tonight. I'd like to say just continue the great work we keep doing and have a great night and a great week.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.